This week's show, I'm going to be speaking with Mr. Chris Lysy, who is the acting fire official here in our city. He was on the show last year when he first got the job, and I'd like to welcome him back, Mr. Chris Lysy, the fire prevention officer.
Thank you.
Welcome, Chris. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
So before we begin, you've been there a year now, so tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
I just completed my 25th year for the city of Elizabeth. May 31st was my 25th year. October of last year, I got the position as a fire official, and it's been very rewarding, and I hope to make a difference.
So in 25 years, you've seen the fire department change?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us a little bit.
For the better. I've seen hiring, more personnel, more promotions, including myself.
That's always a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. Great administrative staff. Chief McNamara, Director Vitulo, Administrative Chief Campbell. So everything has been going good.
So when you first became a fireman, where were you assigned, Chris?
Several companies. My first company was Engine 1 on Broad Street. Then from Engine 1, I went to Truck 3 on New Point Road, then to Engine 3, then to Rescue, and then before I became the fire official, I was in Ladder 1 on Irvington Avenue in the new firehouse.
So you've gone to some of the oldest firehouses to the newest one.
I have.
Now the Bureau of Fire Prevention, not a lot of people know it, except for the little kids.
Yes.
So tell us, from your perspective, what is the Bureau of Fire Prevention?
Well, we want the businesses, most importantly, to be safe. And we want them to follow the rules and regulations. We want them to prosper. So we find things from our experience from doing what we do is things that could cause fires, things that could stop the businesses from prospering, and we want to stop that from occurring. We want to make sure they're safe and their business prosper accordingly. We also do inspections of one-family, two-family dwellings. When people buy new houses, we go and do the CO inspections. We also want public education. We go to schools. We want the schools to understand that not just children, adults, as well as senior citizens, fire safety is there for them. We want smoke detectors, fire extinguishers. We want them to call 911 and get out of the building if something happens.
So when you talk about smoke detectors, how many should be in a house? Is it based on per square footage? Is it based on the way the house is designed? A lot of people don't, they put them in the hallways, and sometimes they put them too close to the stove. Tell us, what's the optimum amount of, can you have too many or can you have too little?
No, there's no such thing as too many.
No such thing as too many.
No. We encourage. If you feel for some reason that you don't have enough smoke detectors, then by all means call the Fire Bureau. And we'll tell you what you need. We have paperwork that's readily available to everybody that we want a smoke detector in each bedroom, center of the bedroom, the ceiling, and a CO detector. We also like a detector in the hallways and in the basements, finished attics, and on each floor. And again, if we need more, call us and we'll advise you accordingly.
And Chris, the Bureau of Fire Prevention, where is it physically located?
At Fire Headquarters, 411 Irvington Avenue on the 3rd floor.
And you have a staff of a couple of guys too, right?
I do. I have a staff of 5. They're inspectors, and they actually go and do the inspections of residential houses, commercial buildings, and whatever else needs to be done. If there's complaints from citizens, then we'll go and we'll find out what needs to be done and rectify it.
Now, summer's here. It's a time for outdoor cookouts, picnics, barbecues. But there's also fire safety that needs to be involved in these different types of grills.
Yeah.
You have charcoals, you have gas. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what people should do during the summertime when they're cooking out on the grill.
Well, first of all, there's different types of the gases. You said propane, natural gas. If it's propane, make sure it's stored properly. Make sure when you hooked up to the bottle, the propane bottle, it's tight and secured. It doesn't leak. If it leaks, shut it off. And if you think there's a problem, then by all means call the fire department. Let them rectify the problem. As far as charcoal.
Now, in a propane tank, if it leaks, it's dangerous because if a fire catches it, then the propane tank is going to start spouting fire, correct?
What happens is the propane's heavier than air, so it sits low. So anywhere in that area, if there's a fire, you'll have fire in that area. Yeah, but we suggest that if there's a problem, back away, call 911, call the fire department, and let us rectify the problem.
So,
for you.
and the new tanks that you have on the propane gas grill are, you have to swap them or something? They put in
Yeah,
new
what
rules,
happens
right?
is what happens is once they go to a certain level, it empties. Okay, then you bring them back to whatever facility you go to. You give them the empty one. They give you the the full one.
You can still, though, get the tank filled that you own.
Sure,
correct?
you can go to, again, the designated areas, and they have a proper procedure that needs to be done. It's enclosed in a fence. The person who's filling it goes inside the fence, closes the door behind him. He fills it up. You stay outside the fence, and there's a fire extinguisher. And again, if something happens, just back out and let the fire department do their job.
Now, explain to us why they never fill up a propane tank. There's always room, and people always say, hey,
Well, it's part of it's
because it
liquid.
expands?
Yeah, part of it's liquid, and then you need enough room for that vapor to accumulate in the top of the bottle, so it's never full. Because if it expands too much, then on top of the valve is a pop-off valve, and it'll let loose. And it's telling you that there's too much pressure, and it starts to spurt accordingly.
So that's therefore, and that could be a hazard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, any low-lying area. So if you have in the backyard, it's a low-lying area, and you see that this gas is going towards an ignition source, you potentially can have a fire.
So on propane tanks, they should be stored indoors, outdoors?
Outdoors, absolutely outdoors. Do not store anything inside your house, outside in the shed.
Or in a garage?
Or in a garage, especially if it's attached to the house. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
So that's one. Now, natural gas.
Again, natural gas, very safe. Okay, you have natural gas coming from a natural gas line in your house. It has a hose, usually 6 foot long. Watch the hose. Make sure it's not damaged. All right, there's a petcock that you close. After you use it, close it. All right, very, very safe. Make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. There's no crimps in it. There's no cuts, no gouges, no nothing. As long as it's all put together the way it's supposed to be, it's absolutely safe.
And the other type, I guess, would be charcoal.
Yeah, charcoal, again, that's the great old-time way of doing things. I mean, they make charcoal now that they put lighter fluid on it automatically. So you just dump the
Lighter
bag.
fluids on the charcoal?
Yeah, you just put it into your pit, and just light it. Stay back. I suggest a bucket of water. And if you're going to do a charcoal and you're done with it and you're going to go inside, put it out. Don't let it just simmer there. Just put it out.
So too many people let it just simmer, right?
That's right. And just something bigger things can happen.
And if you get a wind or a breeze?
Sure, just lights up again. And if you have combustibles like twigs or papers or something close to it, it could light up and then cause a bigger problem.
And that's probably the biggest problem is people
Yeah.
not putting charcoals out?
Yeah, well, yeah, they're just not paying attention. A lot of things can be preventable. These are one of the things that can be preventable.
Now, we just came through July 4th, Chris, and fireworks, and the city of Elizabeth did not have them this year because of the damage by Hurricane Sandy.
Right.
But is there a law on fireworks? Are they legal, illegal? What's the
They
deal
are
here in New
definitely
Jersey?
absolutely illegal. It's illegal to purchase, possess, and use fireworks in New Jersey unless you have a licensed professional staging the show. All right?
So for anybody to buy fireworks and light them off in their yard,
Very unsafe. Very, very unsafe. It's illegal to purchase, possess, and use fireworks in New Jersey. Should not have them. They're dangerous, okay? They're dangerous for both the users and those who are using it and those who are watching it because, think about it, Mayor, you have a wrapper, okay? Looks all colorful. And little kids see this stuff and they go and try to help whoever's doing it and lights a fuse, and the fuse doesn't go off. And then they go over and pick it up. And wow, and then all of a sudden it explodes. Well, they can injure themselves severely, with the possibility of really maiming themselves to the point that for the rest of their life they might not have a hand or something.
and the fireworks that are done legally are done by licensed professionals.
Absolutely. It has to be approved by myself, the fire official. It has to be approved by the state. Yeah, there's rules and regulations that absolutely need to be followed.
So, besides the loss of a hand, I mean, people can get scarred. I mean, give some other reasons to avoid setting off fireworks.
Again, besides injuries, you can be killed, all right? And a lot of people around you in the area could be killed. It could just not only you, when you set it off, it could start a house fire or woods, if you're next to the woods or something, and it just cause, a bigger problem down the line.
And I guess we do. We always get a few calls, right,
Sure,
from neighbors and people
absolutely.
doing fireworks, and
Yeah.
they're doing them incorrectly.
Right, and when we try to, we tell them to put it out. You shouldn't be doing it, all right? And you have to be safe about it. We don't want you doing it. We understand what happens, but don't do it. It's against the law. Then we have to notify the police. The police have to do that.
Can you buy fireworks in New Jersey? You
No,
can't even buy them,
no,
but you
have
can
to
buy
go-
them in Pennsylvania.
Yes, you can. And what happens, they bring them across into New Jersey. And
Can you
that's
buy
where
them in New York?
Oh, yes. Actually, I believe so, yeah. I believe you cannot buy them in New York. They're against the law.
You cannot, but you can buy them in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, we're going to take a break, run
Sure.
some commercials. Stay with us. We're going to talk more about fire prevention
Sure.
in the city of Elizabeth.
Good, excellent.
Please stay with us. After these messages, back with more with Chris Lysy, the acting fire official, talking about fire safety in the city of Elizabeth. Welcome back to our city, where I'm joined by Chris Lysy, who is the acting fire official here in the city of Elizabeth and dealing with fire prevention as well as tips to avoid fireworks here in the city of Elizabeth, illegal fireworks, and go to the ones that are by licensed professionals. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank
Now, one of the things we were talking about is fires and charcoal and gas grills, but not that we have any camps here in the city of Elizabeth, but people here like to go camping.
Sure.
There are some who will get away for the summer or go on a trip and building a fire, leaving it unattended. What do we tell folks about camping when it comes to building a fire in a campground?
As you go to the campground and you see the signs up, no burning, no campfires, then no campfires. Obey the law. Obey what they're asking you.
And the
Because
reason
there
they would say that is why?
because there's probably dry brush all around, and a little fire leads to a big fire. So we try to tell them, don't just read the signs and obey the signs.
I mean, we just saw what happened in Arizona,
Oh,
and 19 firefighters lost their life. How does 19 lose it? Is that a shift in the wind or the terrain? How does that happen so quickly?
What happens a lot of times is fire comes up a ravine. They have to go down into the ravine and try to stop it from coming all the way up. It just probably overtook them, in a matter of seconds, and it creates its own oxygen and a bigger fire, and it just overtook them. And 19 unfortunate firefighters died.
And that fire though that fire was believed to start by lightning. It wasn't,
I believe so, right?
It didn't start by somebody
Right.
on
I
an
mean,
unintended campground.
Right, that's why we tell people, bottles and stuff, don't throw them on the ground. Throw them away in a garbage can. Bottles act as a magnifying glass. And when the sun hits it, it could start a fire, as well as lightning and everything else.
So a bottle could start a fire,
Sure.
especially out in Arizona
Sure.
or Las Vegas, where
Yeah,
it's
it's
really...
been 115, 120 degrees. All that brush is dry as could be.
Yeah.
So, all that sun hitting that bottle acts as a magnifying glass and could cause something. Sure.
So go ahead, back to where you said if it says don't start a fire, but what about those campgrounds that allow fires?
Well, what happens is you want to make sure that your area is clear of all brush, even the trees above your head. Try to make it an open area so when you do have that fire, it doesn't hit the tree above it, causing a bigger
Nobody
fire.
thinks about the tree above it. Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Try a nice open area. And again, your burning area, make sure it's nice and wide, and nothing around it, and just specifically for the fire. And when you build a fire, use the wood. That's what the wood's out there for. Don't use all your things that you want to make it bigger and better, or gasoline and all that other stuff. No, just use the wood and a match and a little bit of paper, with kindling wood, and do it that way and start like it's supposed to. If you have a campfire, again, water. Have a bucket of water, 2 buckets of water next to you. And before you go to bed, make sure that fire is out. Do not go to bed when that fire is still burning. Put it out completely. Use 2-3 buckets of water. And then the following day, that night, if you want to start another fire, clean it all out and start fresh. Don't leave a fire unattended. Please, do not leave the fire unattended. Make sure, and adult supervision is there to take care of things. And again, as I said before, don't use gasoline to make that fire bigger, or lighter fluid and all that other stuff. No, that's not what it's made for. We need a controlled fire. That way we can take care of it if something happens.
The warm weather's arriving, where it's already in it, and air conditioning, especially here, has been on constantly for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Some safety tips for folks running air conditioners.
First of all, make sure they're a proper air conditioner. Make sure you have the proper wiring for that air conditioner. You want to plug that air conditioner to an outlet. You don't want extension cords. You don't want to use the extra outlets for other things. That's not what it's made for. We don't want to overload the outlet and pop the breaker. Well, it's good that the breaker popped, but we don't want it to not break the paper and cause, pop the breaker to cause a fire. All right.
Because if the breaker doesn't pop, then you could cause a fire.
That's correct.
Right.
So we want, so you have to make sure that it's proper where it's supposed to be. Make sure it's an area that it can drip. As a condenser drips and drips the way it's supposed to be, and run it properly at all times.
Now, this is not the winter, but sometimes people have heating components or in-space heaters, and they'll throw clothing over it.
Yes.
And that's the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, those heaters are bad because what happens is people are cold and they put them close to them. So what happens is either they throw the clothes over and put them close to a bed. All right, it gets hot, it gets to a certain degree, that bed will light up. Well, don't do that. Keep it away, keep it in a nice open area where everything is nice and, there's a lot of breeze going around and stuff to keep it safe.
And the woman that passed away on Orchard Street, one of the reasons that fire started was faulty wiring.
That was one of the things, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And smoke detectors, we spoke about them. Is the rule still when you change the clocks or even more frequently?
Well, I'll tell you what. Yes, that's just, one of the rules that we follow, daylight savings times. But listen, if you have a smoke detector that starts beeping, then obviously the battery needs to be changed. So change everything. You're already doing one, so do the rest of them. That way, everything will be working properly the way it's supposed to be.
Now, tell us about smoke detectors that are hardwired into your house. They don't have batteries.
Yes, they do.
They still have batteries.
Yes,
but
it's required. Yep.
But they're also hardwired into your house. You don't.
Well, what happens is when there's a hard wire, it's required by the state statute, by the fire code. And what happens if you lose electricity, you still need battery backup. So if you do lose electricity, we still have your smoke detector operational.
Now, if you lose electricity on those things, does it start to beep or does the battery?
No, the battery kicks in
automatically,
unless the battery's low. Unless you haven't changed your battery and it starts beeping, then you need to start changing your batteries accordingly. They're only 9 volts batteries. They're not that expensive.
No, they're relatively cheap. Fire, carbon monoxide, we talked about how many people should have in their houses and apartments, and you talked about the locations. I think there's never too many, right?
No, absolutely not. We encourage, if in doubt, by all means, call the office. We have paperwork readily available that gives you the directions of what we want, where we want you to put them. You know what I mean? Listen, if you want to put another one, that's fine. Even in the kitchen, you want to put a fire extinguisher, it's okay. What we don't want you to do is put a smoke detector or a CO detector too close to the oven. Because then, obviously, when you're burning and you're cooking something, it sets off the CO detector. And what we found people do is they take the battery out because it's too much of a nuisance and a noise.
Then they don't put it back in.
And then we have bigger problems.
So, fire extinguishers. Should residents buy them? And if they should, how do they know they're buying a good one?
Yeah, well, go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot. You can get a 2.5 pound to a 10 pound ABC. It's for all different types of fires. You mount it, somewhere close, and we suggest you mount it because what happens is when people don't mount them, they take it from point A, put it in point B underneath the shelf and forget where they put it. So we want you to have it mounted so you know it's there, in case something happens. But again, call the fire department. Do not hesitate.
Do not hesitate to try to put it out yourself.
Right.
I mean, and get out, right?
Right. Yep,
The
absolutely.
rules always. We've had two fires recently that people lost their lives, one on William Street and one on Orchard Street. What were we talked about one, but it was wiring. What were the causes of these fires?
Well, I mean, interviewing, the smokers, you know what I mean? It might have been unattended cooking. This was undetermined. We don't know. There was so much damage. And as we did the investigation, as we knocked down the house, we couldn't find anything specific.
That was the one on William Street.
On William Street, yeah.
You think these fires were preventable?
Majority of fires are preventable, yes. You know what I mean? If you're a smoker, make sure you put your cigarette out and dump it in the toilet, in the water, so you don't have to worry about it smoldering. Don't smoke in bed. Candles. Don't use candles. They make candles now that are electric. You don't need the candles next to, your curtains and stuff.
There's candle parties all over this state.
Oh yeah. Yeah. These are all preventable things. Yes.
So we talked about the schools and teaching kids about fire safety. Well, why is it important to instill values on folks early in life?
Bad habits, good habits are good. Bad habits are bad to break. I mean, we want them to understand from the beginning. And it doesn't matter if it's a child, and it doesn't matter if it's a teenager or an adult or a senior citizen. Listen, fire hurts. Fires kill. All right? And when you have a child with an adult, they don't do very well. Unlike a middle-aged person. They're the opposite of each other. So we want to make it safe early. Don't play with matches. Don't play with cigarette lighters. Be safe. That's all.
Chris, it reminds me of when we had a fire in our house when my daughter was 4, and you remember that. And I brought my daughter downstairs and put her on the island in the kitchen and got her coat on because the fire we were ready to get out. And she said to me, "Daddy, when do I stop, drop, and roll?" I said, "Not now. We got to get out of the house."
Right, absolutely.
But at 4 years old, she knew that.
That's awesome.
So what does stop, drop, and roll mean?
So what that means is when your clothes catch on fire, you don't want to run, because when you run, you're giving the fire oxygen that it needs. So stop, drop, and roll to suppress the fire, so it doesn't cause any damage to the skin. Because like I said, younger girls, younger guys, elderly people, they don't do very well when they get burned.
Yeah, because they run.
Well, what happens is because of their makeup of their skin, it's not fully developed and things occur.
Chris, if anybody needs to reach the Fire Prevention Bureau, where do they call?
908-820-4040.
And they could also reach you on the website.
Absolutely, at the Fire Official at ElizabethNewJersey.org. Absolutely.
Chris, thank you for taking the time to join us on the show
My
and
pleasure.
talk to our viewers about fire safety.
My pleasure.
For Mr. Chris Lysy, the acting fire official here in the city of Elizabeth, I'm Chris Bolwade. Stay cool for the rest of the summer, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.